What's up, guys? Welcome back to Sport Ryan TV. Today, I'm going to be reacting to Candace Owens, and she's gaining a lot of popularity lately or recently. And well, I don't know if popularity is the best way to describe it because she's getting a lot of support, but she's also getting a lot of hate. So I guess she's getting a lot of attention is the best way to describe the situation that we have here. Like, a lot of YouTubers are making compilation videos on her. A lot of her sound bites are being used on different channels, and it's because of her position. She believes that the victimhood or the victim status that's going on in the community, especially in the minority communities, um, is affecting America as a whole, and she wants to eradicate it. She wants to take away the whole black card, the victim status, the victimhood, all these little excuses that minorities are using to maintain their their positions. The whole way they use racism is holding them back, or racism is affecting their lives on a daily basis. She wants to say like, hey, maybe during your parents' time or your grandparents' time that was definitely going on, like some form of established racism or established bigotry. But now in 2019, you have no excuse for being unemployed. Well, not honestly unemployed. Not trying your best to gain an education, gain some form of employment, get yourself out of a bad situation as far as your living situation or your how do I say this, personal situation. People will say that the establishment or the industry as a whole in America is actively trying to keep them poor or keep them marginalized in some way. And she says that that's complete BS. Um, and in fact, she's saying that the organizations who are supporting this rhetoric are actually perpetuating the victim status for their own benefit. They're taking advantage of it, and they're using it to their own gains to maintain their positions in politics, or even to profit from it as far as money or status. And the only way that can stop is if the people wake up and learn that they have the power to you know change their own lives and not rely on a certain party, who I'm talking about, to do all the work for them. And what she's saying is 100% correct. She has a whole bunch of different uh, positions as far as that goes, but that's the one I want to focus on right now. She has a whole, like, if you look at her, like a lot of these videos, compilation videos on here, she has a whole, you know, uh, theme park of different, rebuttals or debates that you can look into. But that's a narrative that I'm focusing on right now, and that's when I can remember them both. So remember best. And she's more or less correct. More or less correct. I see where she's coming from. I absolutely understand where she's coming from, and I understand why people hate her so much. Like, I'm pretty sure she's gotten death threats. I'm pretty sure that even from the videos I saw in the past, that people try to shout her down when she appears certain places. They try to boo her. I'm not sure if she's been physically attacked, but I'm pretty sure that's happened as well. But she hasn't given up yet. She hasn't changed her stance or her position at all. That whatever hate comes her way, or whatever comes her way, as far as repercussions for what she says, she stands her ground, and she has a lot more heart than a lot of guys I see who are in politics right now. So let me stop babbling. This is a Ward video. I've reacted to some of his videos in the past. He's really good at making these. I don't want to say compilation videos. I want to say commentaries on politics. He's extremely intelligent, and I like the way he edits his videos. They're hilarious. So Well, further ado, let me stop babbling. I know I talk a lot, guys. I talk so much. We're gonna get right into this video.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In congressional hearings, the minority party gets to select its own witnesses. And of all the people that Republicans could have selected, they picked Candace Owens.
This is California congregandist Ted Lieu, and of all the people the Democrat Party could have selected to accidentally humiliate themselves on national television, he's a good one. For the sake of context, which you wouldn't get from the way Ted Lieu is ominously introducing Candace Owens like she's going to be a 9-foot Aryan shield maiden who shops at Northam's instead of a black female fire smoke goddess whose face makes you tingle, body makes you hard, and brain makes you look at the crater where your boner just exploded from an internal pressure spike as you lay dying from catastrophic blood loss, somehow totally okay with it. For the sake of context, the whole reason Interior Designs by Karma is slapping a sexy coat of high-end mocha paint on the ugly, out-of-style, peeling old white and yellow toilet hues that is Jerry Nadler and Ted Lieu is because the Democrats felt it necessary to drag a bunch of hardworking conservatives who are actually making an impact up in front of their TV goons and repetitively associate the ever-living fuck out of them with anything remotely related to racism. In this particular episode of Holy Democrats, we get it already, which should for real not be watched by heterosexual men without some kind of pressurized deep-sea submersible around your dick. The two rapey weirdos from the end of Pulp Fiction attempt to use a cherry-picked soundbite to assert that black female Candace Owens is a Hitler-loving Nazi white supremacist.
I don't know Miss Owens. I'm not going to characterize her. I'm going to let her own words do the talking. So I'm going to play for you the first 30 seconds of a statement she made about Adolf Hitler.
I agree. I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets, the definition gets poisoned.
Wow.
This is Candace Owens. In addition to being so hot, you'd seriously consider asking her out even if she was a liberal, she also has the bonus characteristic and attribute of having a brain penis the size of Amy Schumer 3 months after being introduced to a feed silo full of lard, while at the same time having the no bullshit, not a victim attitude of the mounted cavalry unit charged with keeping Amy Schumer away from the feed silo while it gets refilled with lard. Which is probably why Candace Owens looks like she's going to do exactly what she's going to do. And Ted Lieu's career.
By elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. You know, he was a National Socialist. But if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. Problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany.
And you could tell just from the look on her face that she's like, I cannot believe that this guy had the audacity to do this to me. I cannot believe that he had the audacity to do this. I cannot believe it. But she's keeping her cool. She's remaining calm, which is, I don't know if I'd be able to keep my cool if someone that did this to me like that. Like, I don't know. I don't know. But she's doing it. Even this guy's looking at her like, damn, like, how you going to come back? How you going to come back? But let's be patient, guys. We're only 2 minutes into this 14-minute video.
He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German.
All right, so my first question is to Ms. Hirschenow.
To the surprise of no one who takes a moment to actually think about it, Democrat Ted Lieu kicks off what he has yet to realize is his own eulogy by bravely slandering a successful young black woman with a clip he purposefully misrepresented, then immediately cuts out of looking her in the eye and instead turns to some rando cat lady for quote-unquote expert opinion on the obvious scam they're pulling as if we're not watching it on live television.
Wow.
Ms. Owens said, quote, if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. So when people try to legitimize Adolf Hitler, does that feed into white nationalist ideology?
It does, Mr. Lieu.
Skip.
So there's been a lot of talk
Skip
today.
it.
I like to focus on actual policy responses that our government can do to try to mitigate the threat of white nationalism.
After opening with Hollywood production level propaganda starring The Reason Nothing the Government Does Works, scared bitch Ted Lieu fear stares at the floor while declaring that all further discussion will be limited to policy. This makes what Ted Lieu just did the logical equivalent of calling Candace Owens the N-word, then immediately enacting a law that no one can use the N-word. Ted Lieu does this because he knows if he gives Candace Owens a chance to respond to the massive lie he knows he just told, Mr. Gohmert is going to have a front row seat to the first time half a congressman is shoved up the other half of the same congressman. Anyway, skipping a bunch of that was just there to make you bored, we move ahead to Mr. Resenthaler from Pennsylvania entering the nuclear codes needed to finally allow Candace Owens, who Ted Lieu had for real tried to prevent from ever responding, to go what is inarguably the most awesome white light, faith militant critical mass ever recorded by the humble and probably Clinton-stained cameras of the United States Congress.
Ms. Owens, I'm sorry. We just started recording. Would you like time to respond to that?
Yes, I think it's pretty apparent that Mr. Lieu believes that black people are stupid and will not pursue the full clip in its entirety. He purposely presented an extracted clip.
The witness will suspend for a moment. It is not proper to refer disparagingly or to a member of the committee. The witness will not do that again.
Look at this.
Dying black girl shall not be uppity, croaks Democrat high priest
Yep,
and New York
pretty
Congress
much.
bitch Jerry Nadler.
Yep.
Witness
Pretty
may
much.
continue.
Sure, even though I was called despicable.
Witness may not refer to a member of the committee as stupid.
I didn't refer to him as stupid. That's not what I said.
Point of fact, that's not what she said.
I
It's
think
not
it's
what she
pretty
said.
apparent that Mr. Lieu believes that black people are stupid and will not pursue the full clip in its entirety. He purposely.
Just because you didn't get called stupid doesn't mean you're not.
That's not what I said at all. You didn't listen to what I said.
It's like,
May I
oops.
continue?
Please.
Wow.
As I said, he is assuming that black people will not
I'm
go
letting her
pursue the full 2-hour clip. And he purposefully he cut off, and you didn't hear the question that was asked of me. He's trying to present as if I was launching a defense of Hitler in Germany, when in fact, the question that was asked of me
Look at his face. He knows what's about to come. He knows what's
was
about to come.
pertaining to whether or not
He's
I believed
scared.
that Hitler,
Look how scared he is.
whether or not
Look
I
how
believed
scared
in
he is.
nationalism, and that nationalism was bad. And what I responded to was that I do not believe that we should be characterizing Hitler as a nationalist. He was a homicidal, psychopathic maniac that killed his own people. A nationalist would not kill their own people. That is exactly what I was referring to in the clip, and he purposely wanted to give you a cut-up similar to what they do to Donald Trump to create a different narrative. That was unbelievably dishonest, and he did not allow me to respond to it, which is worrisome and should tell you a lot about where people are today in terms of trying to drum up narratives.
Holy fucking shit! This fucking timeline is lit all over. It's over. World's biggest Alex Joner.
By the way, I would like to also add that I work for Prager University, which is run by an Orthodox Jew. Not a single Democrat showed up to the embassy opening in Jerusalem. I sat on a plane for 18 hours to make sure that I was there. I'm deeply offended by the insinuation of revealing that clip without the question that was asked of me.
Oh. Oh.
To get serious for a moment, the best part of this exchange is that after being attacked by a 61-year-old white male Democrat and a 50-year-old Asian something Democrat, 29-year-old black female conservative Candace Owens regroups, confident in and unashamed of her synergy of emotion and logic, squares her shoulders, and delivers, before the age of 30, one of the most stirring advocacies for equality the United States Congress has ever seen.
Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Mr. Collins, thank you for having me here today. I received word on my way in that many of the journalists were confused as to why I was invited, and none of them knew that I myself was the victim of a hate crime when I was in high school. That's something that very few people know about me, because the media and the journalists and the left are not interested in telling the truth about me, because I don't fit the stereotype of what they like to see in black people. I'm a Democrat. I support the President of the United States, and I advocate for things that are actually affecting the black community. I'm honored to be here today in front of you all because the person sitting behind me is my 75-year-old grandfather.
Wow.
I've always considered myself to be my grandfather's child, and I mean to say that my sense of humor, my passion, and my work ethic all comes from the man that is sitting behind me. My grandfather grew up on a sharecropping farm in the segregated South. He grew up in an America where words like racism and white nationalism held real meaning under the Democrat Party's Jim Crow laws. My grandfather's first job was given to him at the age of 5 years old, and his job was to lay tobacco out to dry in an attic in the South. My grandfather has picked cotton And he has also had experiences with the Democrat terrorist organization of that time, the Ku Klux Klan. They would regularly visit his home and they would shoot bullets into it. They had an issue with his father, my great-grandfather. During my formative years, I had the privilege of growing up in my grandfather's home. It's going to shock the committee, but not once, not in a single breath of a conversation did my grandfather tell me that I could not do something because of my skin color. Not once did my grandfather hold a gripe against the white man. I was simply never taught to view myself as a victim because of my heritage. I learned about faith in God, family, and hard work. Those were the only lessons of my childhood. There isn't a single adult today that in good conscience would make the argument that America is a more racist or a more white nationalist society than it was when my grandfather was growing up. And yet we're hearing these terms sent around today because what they want to say is that brown people need to be scared, which seems to be the narrative that we hear every 4 years right ahead of a presidential election. Here are some things we never hear. 75% of the black boys in California don't meet state reading standards. In inner cities like Baltimore, within 5 high schools and 1 middle school, not a single student was found to be proficient in math or reading in 2016. The single motherhood rate in the black community, which was at 23% in the 1960s when my grandfather was coming up, is at a staggering 74% today. I am guessing there will be no committee hearings about that.
Wow.
There are more black babies aborted than born alive in cities like New York, and you have Democrat Governor Andrew Cuomo lighting up buildings to celebrate late-term abortions.
Wow.
I could go on and on. My point is that white nationalism did not do any of those things that I just brought up. Democrat policies did.
Oh.
Let me be clear. The hearing today is not about white nationalism or hate crimes. It's about fear-mongering, power, and control. It's a preview of the Democrat 2020 election strategy, same as the Democrat 2016 election strategy. They blame Facebook, they blame Google, they blame Twitter. Really, they blame the birth of social media, which has disrupted their monopoly on minds. They called this hearing because they believe that if it wasn't for social media, voices like mine would never exist. That my movement Blexit, which is inspiring black Americans to leave the Democrat Party, would have never come about. And they certainly believe that Donald Trump would not be in office today. Looking on the next thing to focus on now that the Russian collusion hoax has fallen apart. What they won't tell you about the statistics and the rise of white nationalism is that they've simply changed the data set points by widening the definition of hate crimes and upping the number of reporting agencies that are able to report on them. What I mean to say is that they're manipulating statistics. The goal here is to scare blacks, Hispanics, gays, and Muslims into helping them censor dissenting opinions, ultimately into helping them regain control of our country's narrative, which they feel that they lost. They feel that President Donald Trump should not have beat Hillary. If they actually were concerned about white nationalism, they would be holding hearings on Antifa, a far-left, violent white gang who determined one day in Philadelphia in August that I, a black woman, was not fit to sit in a restaurant. They chased me out. They yelled race traitor to a group of black and Hispanic police officers who formed a line to protect me from their ongoing assaults. They threw water at me. They threw eggs at me. And the leftist media remained silent on it. If they were serious about the rise of hate crimes, they may perhaps be examining themselves and the hate that they have drummed up in this country. Bottom line is that white supremacy, racism, white nationalism, words that once held real meaning, have now become nothing more than election strategies. Every 4 years, the black community is offered handouts and fear. Handouts and fear. Reparations and white nationalism. This is the Democrat preview. Of course, society is not perfectible. We've heard testimony of that today. There are pockets of evil that exist, and those things are horrible, and they should be condemned. But I believe the legacy and the ancestry of black Americans is being insulted every single day. I will not pretend to be a victim in this country, and I know that that makes many people on the left uncomfortable. I want to talk about real issues in black America. I want to talk about real issues in this country and real concerns. The biggest scandal, this is my last sentence, in American politics is that Democrats have been conning minorities into belief that we are perpetual victims, all but ensuring our failure. Racial division and class warfare are central to the Democrat Party platform. They need blacks to hate whites, the rich to hate the poor, and soon enough it'll be the tall hating the short.
That's it for today. If you enjoyed this content, please like.
Wow. All right, guys. definitely a lot to unpack here. Uh, just watching this made me feel stupid. Like I have to start reading more books. I have to get my my education up. I have to get my shit together. Like it, the reason, like, I can see why she gets so much hate. I absolutely see it. Being a victim, guys, is so easy. Being a victim is so easy. You don't have to do anything. The world is this big bad place that's out to get you, and you can't help yourself. You can't defend yourself. So you need a savior, some type of messiah to tell you what to do, or be your voice and do all the work for you, so you can, just continue to exist and feel protected. Um, it's a certain charm to being a victim. Like I said, you can do whatever you want. It's not your fault. You can live the rest of your life being a loser, or being in poverty, or being on reparations, or and welfare, and this, that, and the third. There are some people who actually need welfare, but a majority of people on welfare don't necessarily need it. It's just they've just gotten so used to using it that they don't know any other way to live. A lot of, even my family members, I'm not going to say which ones, have voted for a particular party. I'm not going to mention it here, but you already heard Candace Owens' speech. Have voted for a particular party for a long time, and the reason why they've done it is because they've been voting for that party their whole life, and it's because that party has targeted them since they were younger, and put the idea into their head that they need this party to survive. You know, specifically in the minority communities, Black, Hispanic, gay, Muslim, they're targeted by the party, and the party has been profiting from them for quite some time. And a lot of people don't know the history of that party, how far back it goes, and how a lot of these um, white nationalist social organizations were actually formed from that party. A lot of people don't know that. That's how it originally started. And you can see how a victim would hear this and get upset, because she's essentially telling them that you gotta stop being a victim. You have to stop doing that. You have to stop being lazy. You have to stop depending on other people. You have to stop blaming others, and you have to you know put the work in, and you know do what you gotta do. And like I said, as a victim, you get lazy. You don't want to do work. You don't want to do anything. You just want to you know see a boogeyman in any and everything, and just chill back, relax, and do the bare minimum. And when Candace Owens, as a member of your community, says, "Hey, stop doing that. Stop being this. Start being that. Stop being a victim," it can make people very upset. Change is scary. Change can infuriate people. But she, she's standing her ground, and she's going to say what she has to say. And her way of speaking and the points she's making were so powerful. Got mixed up there. Were so powerful that the whole courtroom just went silent. You didn't even hear cameras most of the time. Even the camera people were like, "Oh man, maybe I should stop making that clicking noise and listen to what she has to say." It was dead silent in there. There wasn't no coughing. There wasn't no sneezing. You didn't even hear people moving their papers, and that would happen every now and then. But a majority of the time, it was almost like the sound just stopped. The only thing you could hear was her voice. There was no interruptions. Even look on these people's faces, that the people she was talking to, they were like, "Oh man, we unleashed the beast. We unleashed something that we couldn't control, that we can't fight back against quite yet, I guess, until we find another clip to use against her." And we just have to sit back and take this relentless and just brutal rebuttal, or brutal response. Like, whoo! Like, oh man, this is immortalized. They can't undo this. And like John Ward has said, Ted, I believe, Ted Lau, if I'm saying his name correctly, actively tried to make sure that she couldn't say anything back to them. And now I see why. This is incredibly embarrassing for them. They just had to sit back and just take it. Oh man, it was hard to watch, and I'm not exactly on their side, and it was still hard for me to watch them take this much punishment. Like this was brutal, absolutely brutal. But yeah, like I see why people fear her. I see why she's hated. I'm pretty sure you guys do too. I have to get my shit together. This video makes me want to get my shit together. I have to stop. I have to work harder myself. This right here is definitely something that is going to motivate me to get. I have to get my stuff together. I have to get my shit together. I have to stop cursing too. Um, I'm not doing enough myself. I need to. There's so much I got to do myself. I really, really have to work harder. I absolutely have to work harder. There's no excuse for me either. So this video, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. I'm pointing the finger at myself right now. I have to get my shit together. I have to work harder. I'm definitely not working at the 100% of my potential, or I'm not working. I'm not using 100% of my potential right now. Um, I definitely have to work harder. I'm definitely going to start working harder. I have to. I have to start reading more. Um, I absolutely. Candace is right. She's absolutely correct. And I voted for a particular party, in my early years, without doing a lot of research, without understanding who I was voting for, simply because I thought that that's what you had to do. But now I'm older and I'm wiser, and I'm understanding that it's a lot more complicated than that. But I want to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section. I know I was tripping up a little bit here, but you know, damn, like Candace, she definitely makes you question everything you believe in. Like you have to like, wow, like yeah, that does make sense, and again, that could be scary to a lot of people. Absolutely be scary to a lot of people. But again, let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Keep it civil. I understand this could be a hot topic for a lot of people. I say that like a lot of my videos dealing with politics, but let me know in the comment section. And yeah, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one.